This is Fritz Frivolous with continuous live coverage of the corner of Curious Lane and Just Because Boulevard, the epicenter of the alien invasion. And this just in, King Kong is fighting the Mobile Suit Gundam. And of course, all of this is happening amidst World War IV, making it pure pandemonium. If only Captain Planet were still alive to save us all. Dude, could you imagine? Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, Adolf Hitler, Dr. Evil. What do they all have in common? They all had aspirations of world domination, to rule the world with no one to defy them. Is an attempt to conquer the globe just an egomaniacal plot inspired by villains directly lifted from a 007 film? Or is something secretive and sinister truly happening right under our very noses? Our two ruthless conquerors, Will and Tom, divulge their plans for such a dastardly deed. And welcome back, everybody. This is Tom Case.
And this is Will Stark. So, Tom, what are we doing tonight?
The same thing we do every night, William. Try to take over the world.
I was wondering why you made me ask you that.
Well, that's the exact reason I asked you that, or to ask you to ask me that, is because tonight's question is, what if you tried to take over the world?
Oh, you mean more like, how would I go about doing it?
Yes.
The answer is, I wouldn't. But, I mean, we're not going to end it there.
But I think all of our listeners would want you to take over the world, Will.
No, I do not think they would. What if I tried to take over the world? Oh, I can't even imagine. Like, in what capacity would I even begin to try and take over the world? I mean, okay.
See, I think that there's probably a few different ways. I have my own theory. Like, if I were to try to take over the world, I do have my own theory about how...
I'm just thinking, like, with my skill set, like, okay, I think my best bet is I gotta run for some sort of office, right?
Okay.
And get enough of a following going. Man, I don't know. Well, because then you got to deal with the military might and power of other nations. Like, yeah. But go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, you know what? Let's go to some Fritz facts here. Okay. Fritz came over and dropped off some papers here, and I think you're gonna find a trend here.
Okay.
So there are notable people who've tried to take over the world. Sure. And let me name some of them.
Yes.
Napoleon. Alexander the Great.
Okay, yes.
Julius Caesar. Adolf Hitler.
Yes.
Genghis Khan.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, there's one fact that I actually did find kind of interesting, and who knows, because this was so long ago, if this is true or not. They even say that it's kind of a legend if he really did say this or not.
Who?
Which was Alexander the Great. And
I doubt we have anything he ever said written down.
Yeah,
anywhere.
exactly. But they say, like, because, that was like, I think 4th century? Like, I think that was in 4th century.
No, it was way before that.
Was it way before that?
Yeah, way before that. It was way before the Roman Empire was even a thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was said. See, it was said, and like we're saying, who knows if it really was said this, but it was said that after he did a lot of his conquest, he wept because he had no more worlds to conquer. But I don't think he knew. The information that I have here says that, but he was unaware of, like, China and other lands farther than that.
I'm pretty sure, like, he knew there was more beyond
Yeah, but
that.
he didn't get to that far.
I doubt that was ever said or done.
I know, right? Yeah.
But it
is interesting if it was like...
So, like, I'm just saying, in my current capacity, I just don't think world takeover is possible, and it's certainly not possible. Every person you name there did it one way, through conquest. Like, I don't got the stamina for conquest. So if I'm going to do it, it's going to have to be through, like, systematic infiltration of other people's social media via propaganda. First thing is I need to put together a team of people who somehow are on board with this idea of making
on board
me
with you, Will. Let's take
the
over the
leader
world.
of everything. Like, I'm going to need a team of people who are capable of creating bots, understanding programming. I'm going to need, like, a social media and, like, image person. Basically, they are going to have to manufacture me into a much bigger, more charismatic deal than I am. And somehow I'm going to have to, like, probably take acting lessons just so I can pull it off.
Yeah.
And then
improv lessons.
Find some socio-economic genius who could build me like the ultimate platform for like a populist movement that would launch me to the forefront of like the election. What's the word? Probability of winning an election. Like something that can kind of push through the party lines and whatnot. I just don't think that's possible in today's like polarized American politics.
Yeah. When I was researching a little bit on this, it does say, you can't, it's probably impossible to quote unquote conquer by that traditional, definition of the word because of
nuclear
the
weapons.
of the technology that we have now. It's way too easy to stop or launch nukes or whatever you had to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then between the two superpowers, essentially the three superpowers, if you want to consider the European Union, even though they're not exactly super united on everything, it's like they're still a major power all put together. Economically, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I'm talking about like, just conquesting America, let alone the rest of the world. It's like I don't even know. Like,
see so far you have like when I was thinking of this question, I was already I knocked something over there. Sorry about that. So when I was thinking about this question, I was already kind of thinking like, okay, in terms of, so like right now you said, you said for
I just had an idea. But
you would definitely want to use technology. You want to infiltrate technology or whatever you would have to do, right? And then run for an office, something that would make you visible to masses of people and hopefully get their trust and their
it would have to be such a like manufactured thing of like figuring out what is the best attack or line of attack of getting the most people behind me. But I just realized something. I've been attacking this from the completely wrong avenue.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Yeah, let me hear this.
The much more realistic and horrifying avenue is create civil unrest to the point of the complete collapse of the world governments, of the superpowers, and then have a set up plan to rise in some relatively still, what's the word I'm looking for? Not safe, but
stable, right?
Stable area with enough manufacturer backing through this team that I started with, and then we get back to conquest.
Yeah. See, now you're talking, Will. Now you're talking. You know why? Because that sounds a little more evil, right?
Well,
Out of these people who want to conquer,
I mean, they're both evil. Let's be really like. One plan involves way more bloodshed, but both plans are evil.
Plans are evil.
Yes.
Oh yeah. But see, the way I always thought about would probably, the like I said, there's probably, multiple ways if it was really going to be done that it probably can be done. But what I would do is you would have to create something that would unify the world governments first, right? Because right now everyone is separated.
Right, sure.
So if you could somehow create a big enough threat or something that is so imminent. Maybe there's not. Maybe there's not. But I'm just saying, like, if you could somehow, maybe it's not a threat, maybe it's something else, right? Like maybe I can't think of it now, but I would want to go the route of, unifying the world first, then just taking over that part of it, which would then have to be probably like you going for whatever that political office is. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I think the only way we would get there, I just don't think there is a way there, but I think like you're talking about, like, you would have to erase all of the conflicting goals and purposes of all the different government bodies in the world, so that it could all coalesce into one single body with a single like goal. Idea.
Exactly.
And I don't think that's happening. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, it would have. See, that's.
And I don't think there's a threat big enough to make that happen. I really don't.
That's why I think, though, like if it were to happen, which I'm glad that there isn't a real way that could probably happen, but it would be through some type of a unification, and then probably then through, like you said, with technology and like social media, things like that, where you need that control. Then running for that office so that people know who you are. Right. And obviously, since you're the one who started the whole thing, you would know exactly what to say to these people to give them the security that they're wanting, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think that's probably the way you would want to go. I honestly think nowadays, for an age of
I personally think it would have to be mass destabilization. followed by conquest and consolidation of power, conquest, and you're probably not going to actually take over the world. You're going to take over a huge portion of whatever continent you're on.
Yeah.
Well, everything else falls into disarray.
You know, that brings up an interesting question, too. I was actually looking at some of these people, you know, like Napoleon or, you know, actually like Adolf Hitler, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I always thought, too, like, if Adolf Hitler, if the Third Reich was successful, do you think he could have, during that time, do you think he could have continued and eventually maybe have taken, you know, over to the world? Like
the entire world, probably not, no.
Yeah, I think
No,
you're right too. I don't think it's even back then.
I mean,
you know
I think
like,
maybe Europe, the United Kingdom might have become like less like more of an occupied vassal state, less so than like an actual like under complete control. I mean, they probably would have consolidated power all the way out to the Middle East. But after that, it would have fallen apart. Plus, you got to remember they had allies like Japan.
Yeah,
they weren't about to go take over Japan. You know what I mean? Like, and honestly. Let's say Germany did manage to actually successfully invade Russia. Like they would have just taken the western like quarter of it. Japan would have handled the western quarter of it. Yeah. So no, it wouldn't have been total world domination. It would have just been the rise of probably another world superpower, assuming stabilization could have been achieved, which I don't think it could have. Hitler was kind of an idiot and a maniac when it came to running his own government.
Yeah.
Like, he was completely unstable by the end, so I just don't think it would have
That
worked
goes
out.
back to the part of the team that you would assemble, because like the team he assembled ultimately after a while basically betrayed him. I mean, they knew, most of them knew, hey, this isn't going where we thought it was going to go, or they recognized, yeah, Hitler's a little crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and a major drug addict and a bunch of other problematic issues. On top
plus,
of all
too,
that.
like, you know, the mass of like land, like, you know, Genghis Khan's empire, you know, was huge, but like a lot of it, you know, he didn't have to upkeep or maintain, like, I mean, he would try, but
he was very good at actually establishing and putting in a system that worked while he wasn't there. He was very good at doing that. Genghis Khan's empire actually lasted quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
But and that was because he was very good at appointing people and making sure that things ran smoothly before moving on. But
I think that would be hard to do too. You know what I mean? That would kind of determine what it was that you can keep. You know what I mean? Because like there's going to be uprisings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like you have to take in consideration just the cultural differences in people. Like you're gonna have different problems from different types of people who have different issues with different things than you probably are ready to deal with because you're from one part of the world and they're from another. We're not even talking about one of the biggest factors is money. Like who's getting the money to fund all this? Like what super mega billionaire is backing me up somehow? Like, so I
you know,
so
Bill Gates is going to be on my team. Bill Gates and, you know,
like how we're building a team. We're like picking on the playground.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
Take Jeff Bezos,
I'll take,
I suppose.
I know. Yeah.
No. I take what's the SpaceX guy? What's his name? South Australian guy. Guy who made PayPal. Elon Musk. I'll take Musk because I got space tech. So that's how I begin.
So
step one: recruit Elon Musk.
So Bezos would be the one that's always left, the last one that's picked.
Yeah.
No, but you know, the other thing too that I was thinking about when I wanted to ask you this question was like, you know, back in the like dynasty era of, you know, China, like they had a lot of different dynasties. One thing I always found interesting was like, yes, there's a lot of bloodshed, and yes, they all try to take over, you know, China and all the lands and everything. And one of the interesting things about that was their reasoning behind it. But especially like some of the emperors, you know, they just wanted everything to be solid. They wanted a unified China. You know what I mean? So that way, like you said too, like with economics, because when it was all split apart, some provinces had more than others, but some of them had different currency and some of them had this. So like when you had to go and do
they wanted to
trade and everything, you wanted to standardize everything and make everything easy. You know what I mean? Like, because otherwise it's like, you know, well, my jade costs more than your, you know, or my gold costs more than your jade or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And how do you convert that? You know what I mean? Like, I always thought that was interesting when I was reading all this stuff about people who quote unquote tried to conquer the world.
Yeah, in the ancient world, geography was just such a major factor. Like, you could only expand to be so big and barely maintain the stability of that because, you know, communication and transportation and stuff was just so limited. Like, nowadays, empires much bigger than the ancient ones are possible. Matter of fact, I would say the United States is at least as big as the Roman Empire was at, like, the height of its size, which was the biggest the world had ever seen before.
Yeah.
And that's just the U.S. now. You know, Russia is even technically a bigger landmass, although it only counts. I mean, that only counts so much considering most of it is unoccupied. But
yeah.
But
That's
my
what I
point
was
is,
trying to
like,
say with, like,
in a
Genghis
modern
Khan.
world, like, the idea of a country taking up an entire continent that's much bigger than Australia, we're not counting that, is way more possible than... It just wasn't possible before.
Yeah.
It just was impossible before. So...
Go ahead.
No, you go
I was
ahead.
going to say, if someone, you know, if a world leader now were to try to take one, who do you think would be most likely to try to make a move like that?
I can't remember his name, but definitely President of China, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah?
Like, yeah, definitely. Like, if he found a power play to do it, yeah, he would go for it in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me?
I was thinking Putin. Putin kind of came to mind a little bit.
Nah,
but
I don't think he's got
you
the
don't think he
capabilities.
would?
No.
Really?
Yeah. Russia punches above their weight class, but their weight class is way under the two real superpowers in this world, which is the U.S. and China.
Yeah.
And, like, Russia just causes a lot of ruckus. But they are not in the same category as the two superpowers. Not even close.
Dang. But, dude, could you imagine?
Breaking news, a new study suggests leaving an iTunes review is very important for newly created podcasts. So to nurture your new favorite podcast, make sure to leave an iTunes review. This has been Fritz Frivolous, reminding you to like, comment, and subscribe. Will and Tom, back to you. A military general, a senator, a trusted friend. He went from being someone banished from his own people to becoming a leader, a representative of an entire world. I am, of course, talking about none other than Jar Jar Binks. This character stumbled his way through perilous wars and battles, emerging unharmed, while also bumbling into situations placing him into positions of power. Are these the lucky and coincidental acts of a klutz, or the cold and calculated moves of a mastermind? We will now be granted an audience with our two Jedi Masters, Will and Tom, as they use the Force to discern if Jar Jar Binks has been seduced by the dark side of the Force.
And we're back.
Indeed.
This next one, Will, I know you have very strong feelings about.
Oh, no. What is this? Oh, I know what it's going to be.
Let me
this
see
a
if you-
Star Wars question?
Yes,
God
it's going to
damn
be a
it.
Star Wars question. I'm sorry.
No, it's
Will,
fine.
I'm sorry I have to do this to you. Like, I care for you. I consider you a really good friend, but I'm going to have to do this one to you.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's one of my favorite theories to have, or to talk about.
Oh, is it
in Star
Darth
Wars.
Jar Jar?
What if it's Darth Jar Jar? What if Jar Jar Binks was the actual Supreme Lord of the Sith?
Well, I'll tell you what, we sure would have got 3 much better trilogy movies, if you ask me.
Yes.
I think.
Yes, right? When I first heard about this theory, my mind was like blown. When I think it was a friend of mine who first started telling me something about it, and I was like, wait, what did you say? And he was like...
The theory originated on Reddit. I remember when that thread released, like, years and years ago.
I think
it popped off like nobody's business.
I think
People
that's
really
where
like
he...
the idea.
I think that's where he read it from. And I was... But when he just nonchalantly, the new Star Wars movie coming, like, dude, he's like, what if... what if
Jar
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 Binks
Jar?
was... well, he didn't say, like, he was just like, what if Jar Jar Binks was, like, the actual Supreme Lord of the Sith, And he said it so quick and nonchalantly.
Yeah. What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction, that's what I was trying to get, like, I was just like, oh, yeah, wait, what?
Yeah.
And everything started flooding into my mind of, wow, that would actually fit and be such a good twist to this whole story arc that I would have loved it.
So he didn't have to explain to you, like, why that would work.
Well, yeah, we did go into detail, and there was some things too, but no, yeah, you're right. Like, he didn't initially have to explain, because all of the things started coming in. I was like...
So, for those who are not very well aware of, like, Jar Jar Binks, the prequels, how goddamn hated he is as a character, and what made this theory kind of work as well as it does is that everything Jar Jar Binks is kind of a wacky comedy relief character who is hapless and useless and harmless, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, every single action he seems to take, like, sets back the protagonist drastically sometimes.
Yeah.
Minorly other times, but sometimes drastically. And honestly, spoiler alert for the prequels, it is a key decision that Jar Jar makes that actually plunges the entire Empire into control of the Emperor himself by voting to, I think, make Chancellor Palpatine the Emperor permanently.
Yeah, exactly.
So, so the theory kind of breaks down all the different things Jar Jar did, and like, what if Jar Jar wasn't just completely inept and incompetent and stupid? What if these were absolutely calculated decisions, and that he was behind everything this whole time?
Yes.
And I like the idea because Jar Jar is a terrible character, but if you did this right, it could redeem him and make him an amazing character. That being said, I think to make this work, like, to the regular public, you'd have to do something that Star Wars movies have never done, and I don't think you could do, and you'd have to do flashback material.
Yeah, because I think it would be better if, exactly. Yeah. That would make it much better.
You would have flashbacks to key scenes.
Yes.
And I don't know if you pull that off in a Star Wars movie. Like, there are no flashbacks, I think, in a Star Wars movie that I can think of off the top of my head. Definitely not the original trilogy. No. It's just not really a storytelling device that's done. And one of the things that bugs me about the sequels is the sequels really rely on like this zany, almost like Marvel quippy humor. But that's never been a Star Wars thing. Like, if you look at prequels or original trilogy, it's just...
Yeah, it's
very immersive or immersion breaking for me because it stops feeling like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
it starts feeling like a modern Disney Marvel thing, and I'm like, this isn't Star Wars. This is taking me out of it. This is not the type of like the humor, the limited amount of humor that was in the prequels and original trilogy is just kind of universal humor that's funny regardless of context, and
they mostly came from, you know, like C-3PO or someone like that. Who was more low key. Yes, and he wasn't like over the top. Yeah.
Right. Although that's funny. I mean, C-3PO can be a little over the top.
Yeah.
But I understand what you mean.
I mean, compared to Jar Jar,
Jar Jar's terrible.
Yeah.
No, but what I was saying is like, there are certain like things that make a Star Wars movie feel like a Star Wars movie. And for me, in the sequels, the way they did humor kind of broke that for me. The sequels, not prequels.
Yeah.
And I think flashbacks would have that same effect.
Oh,
so
really?
In that regard, maybe the Darth Jar Jar thing wouldn't work to a casual fan because they'd be like, what the fuck is going on? What do you mean Jar Jar was a bad guy?
Yeah. And
you've even told me yourself that you have a friend who's a Star Wars fan who you told that to, and he was like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, it was actually well, Eric, you know, and when I was talking to him about that, I remember him saying, like, I remember asking him this exact question. I said, what if you went into the theaters, right? This was right before the new Star Wars. I was like, what if you went into the theaters and you found out in one scene, all of a sudden you hear, you mean we're gonna die? And then it just turns, right? It's Jar Jar Binks, but then it turns at that last section. Yeah. And all of a sudden he's like, kill them, you know? I was like, and you see his eyes glow red. Like, what would you do? He literally told me, he was like, I'm getting up out of the seat and I'm going to ask for a refund. Like, he's like, I would not watch it. And he goes, I would be so upset.
So for me, the Jar Jar thing for Darth Jar Jar to work too is it all has to be an act, including the way he speaks. And I would imagine a scene where he's like, oh, you thought I talk like this.
Yeah.
You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like, it was all an act. And then he goes in his deep, dark, blah, 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 blah. Plan. That's how I think it would work for me.
Scum.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, Jar Jar's fucking evil. Holy shit.
I would have jumped out of my seat with joy if I saw that. I would have loved that.
I mean, it helps the Jar Jar case, the Darth Jar Jar case, that, again, this is just my opinion, that the sequels were hot fucking garbage. Mm-hmm. Like, if the sequels were legitimately super, like, entertaining and good, I would be much less willing to entertain the Darth Jar Jar concept. So.
You know what? I actually kind of wanted to read this. This is actually, I got this from Screen Rant. but they did have 10 details.
Oh, okay.
That 10 details that back up the Darth Jar Jar theory. Because there were certain things too. When my friend originally was telling me, I was like, well, wait, because like there are certain things I didn't know. You know, like but we'll get to those. You know, because I would be like try to debunk it too. You know, just to see if it wouldn't.
You want to make sure it stands the test.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So 10, they have his clumsiness is so over the top that it could be
unbelievable, right?
Right?
Yes, yeah.
And I remember seeing that, and I was like, you know, and it's true. Yeah. You know, like it is so over the top.
Yeah,
like,
it's Looney Tunes.
Yeah,
and which is ridiculous because nothing else in the world is like that.
Yeah. And who in their right mind would put him in charge of anything? Like the scene where they're fighting the clones. You know what I mean? And they're like, "Oh, you're gonna be Bombad General," you know, whatever. Yeah. No, you would not. That's the dumbest decision.
I mean, the fact that he became a senator blows my fucking mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just blows my fucking mind.
Number 9, Palpatine carefully orchestrated everything.
I mean, he did.
Yeah, but what they're saying though was that he orchestrated everything so that, you know, through the instructions of Jar Jar Binks, you know what I mean, like to where it will never go on Jar Jar, to where Jar Jar will always never be looked at.
I mean,
you know?
the Palpatine does set up the premise that a Sith can operate on that level of careful coordination and planning from the shadows. That like it would be believable of like, oh, you thought Palpatine was the real power, where there's actually a power behind him. Like, I can kind of get behind that idea.
Yeah, because they were saying that, you know, along with you know, that it's an over the top act of his, you know, clumsiness and everything like that, but everything was meticulously crafted that way. One was because the evil plan involved manipulating the entire galaxy. And he left nothing up to chance. So Jar Jar's integral role in Anakin's adolescence and eventual downfall can't have been a coincidence, right?
Well, okay. Explain to me how Jar Jar was a part of Anakin's fall as an adult on screen, because I don't think that happens in any way. As a matter of fact, Jar Jar...
That would probably have to be one of what you're talking about with one of the flashback
We'd have to do
things.
flashback
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Yeah,
that
so,
would
like, I don't buy that. I don't think that there's this integral, like, formative thing. I barely remember Phantom Menace because that movie sucks. But, like, I don't remember Jar Jar and Anakin having, like, any, like, deep connection or any type of, like, formative moment between the two of them. If anything, I remember Jar Jar annoying the shit out of Qui-Gon Jinn the most, and Obi-Wan second most. And Amidala was the only one who was kind of nice to have.
Yeah, that's true.
That's my vague memories.
He also annoyed the shit out of me. Don't forget that.
Yeah, and the rest of the world.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, what else you got?
This one, I also feel like they're kind of reaching here now with some of these things, but it's like number 8. He can do somersaults like only Force-sensitive people can.
Okay, to be fair, he does do some wild antics that like require a fair amount of athleticism. And like here's the thing, and it's probably going to come up on that list. He survives basically undamaged a lot of like big physical blows.
Exactly.
It's just like only like realistic, if we're actually like analyzing this, only someone with force powers would probably be able to recover from a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like it happens a lot in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I don't believe like no matter, you know, how klutzy, you know, he seems to be, like sooner or later those, you know, it's not going to be by chance that you didn't get injured by that, you know, like or shot or whatever, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, that one, you know,
that one holds more water than the one before it.
Yeah. Number 7. Oh, see, this is the one thing that I didn't know about, and I was trying to explain to my friend, like, well, it can't be because, you know, there's always the rule of 2 or whatever, and there's going to be, you know, there's you know, Darth Sidious and Anakin now or whatever, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So, but this says Darth Plagueis technically abolished the rule of 2.
In what source material?
So this says one of the main roadblocks, you know, that was standing in the Darth Jar Jar theory is the Sith rule of 2.
Sure.
Instituted by Darth Bane, which ensured that only the strongest Sith duo could survive. So if Jar Jar was a Sith Lord, then Palpatine couldn't have trained Darth Maul, Tyrannus, and Vader on the side.
Unless Jar Jar is Darth Plagueis.
Oh, right. Oh, that could have, that would have been a good one. But Darth Plagueis, Palpatine's master, whom he killed in his sleep, abolished the rule of 2, so it still would have been possible for Jar Jar, to work secret Sith operative.
Especially considering Disney abolished anything extending universe.
Yeah,
that means nothing to me.
And you know what? It doesn't show what's which source they got that from.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one thing though. I used to always say too. I was like, well, you can't because
Sure.
So if this was true and that's what they're going for,
I'm sure there's other ways to get around the rule of 2, but I don't think that's one of them.
Mm-hmm. Number 6, he infiltrated the Senate. Because he did become a
absolutely.
Senate.
We just talked about
I know that was very and again a decision where I was like, why? Why would you make him
And he maneuvered himself to be in power the one specific day that it came to making the Chancellor the freaking Emperor. So,
and I understand though, if you have someone, they thought, he was on their side. Like if he, when he was there and stuff, yes, you can see how klutzy he is, but his heart is in the right place. You know what I mean? But that doesn't make you be like, oh, you know what? You should be the senator.
No, definitely
why
not.
would you make that decision?
It was complete incompetency that got him there. I will say one thing is Emperor Palpatine is notoriously racist against all non-humans, and the Empire commits horrible hate crimes against entire peoples across the Star Wars galaxy. So the idea that Jar Jar is really behind it is a little weird. Doesn't really hold much water for me there, but I digress. Anyways, go ahead.
Number 5. So this one, I don't know. I don't know anything on this. Anything on this one. It says Jar Jar's fighting style can be compared to Zuiquan, Zuikuan.
Yeah, I have no comment on this. I don't know enough of.
I don't know. It just says whenever Jar Jar stumbles into a fight scene, he appears to coast by on dumb luck, inadvertently besting his opponents in combat.
I mean, that goes back to what we were saying.
Yeah, that's
he survives a bunch of shit he certainly shouldn't. And, he makes it all look like an accident or, zany or whatever or dumb luck. So,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, sure, maybe it looks like some fighting style I'm not familiar with, but that's really besides the point.
Yeah. Number 4 is actually what you've already gotten, which was he gave absolute power to the Chancellor Palpatine.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Number 3, he uses hand gestures when he wants to change someone's opinion. Now, I kept trying to go back and remember. Yeah.
Does that actually happen, though?
Well, so, you know what? I mean, I know there are some times that he does talk a lot with his hands. So, I can't tell if it was just during the parts where he is trying to, maybe persuade someone in a scene. Yeah. Right now, I kept trying to think of a scene.
Man,
I know.
That's real. Man, did we miss out.
Well,
that's so cool.
There's another scene I remember watching on someone who was talking about this theory on YouTube, and they showed a part. I think it was when they were trying to go and storming the Capitol on Naboo, and when they're going under, I think it was I think it was some kind of a bridge or something. They were going under an archway. And right before the drones and stuff started to attack them, you see Jar Jar, what appears to look like he moves out of the way before it even happens. And you see him, kind of climb or jump or stumble off somewhere so that now he's not in harm's way. But the odd part about that was he does it before they even know what was going on. He does it before it happens.
That's so interesting how Lucas inadvertently caused this.
I know, right?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, that's weird how it was not meant that way. But yeah, on this one it says, whenever Jar Jar is trying to convince somebody of something, he gestures with his hands, just like any Jedi or Sith attempting the Force mind trick.
Which, if the convincing thing is true, that's wild. I would love to see some video evidence of that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch this because it actually points out one of the scenes. It says, this gesturing is most prevalent, perhaps not coincidentally, when Jar Jar is trying to convince the Senate to give full power to Palpatine.
What?
I know. So now I'm trying to picture that scene.
Okay. I mean, it's been years, so there's no way I'm going to picture it. But okay, I'll take that at face value. And if true, definitely compelling evidence, and would make a. See, this is again. It's how do you convince the casual audience that this is real, even though you have all this evidence? How do you present this evidence in such a way where they buy it? I don't know if you can, but did you make it to the top of that list?
So, we're almost there. So, number 2, he mirrors Yoda in interesting ways.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I thought, he says, in The Empire Strikes Back, when Luke travels to Dagobah, Yoda initially acts like a bumbling buffoon in order to offset, any preconceptions that he might be the last surviving Jedi. This oddly mirrors Jar Jar. This kind of goes, I think this is, the same thing we're talking about with how klutzy he is. It's over the top.
It's over the top.
That's basically what they're saying. He acts like a bumbling buffoon, to dissuade anyone from suspecting that he's an all-powerful Sith Lord. And then number 1, this is the one. Okay, it says Ahmad Best and George Lucas have all but confirmed it. But I think this is all like they probably heard people talking about it, and they want to promote this. People talking about it, right? It just says George Lucas, who claims that Jar Jar is his favorite Star Wars character, of course, said that the character is quote unquote the key to the whole saga.
No bullshit. Right.
I knew.
No. What? Lucas was just upset. Okay, so Lucas really poured his heart and soul into the idea of Jar Jar because he was like, I'm going to make a character the kids love so much, I'm going to make $1 billion selling Jar Jar action figures. He put his heart and soul into an idea, and everyone fucking hated it, and he's still mad about it.
Yeah.
And so now he's trying to say,
yeah, exactly, right? I know, that's exactly what I...
Key to everything.
He's like, of course,
Yeah.
While actor Ahmed Best tweeted...
Is that the person who played Jar Jar? I mean, it's gotta be, right?
Sure. I think so. Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Otherwise, what do we care about what this man
I know.
says?
Yeah, exactly. While Ahmad Best tweeted that, quote, it feels really good when the hidden meaning behind the work is seen, no matter how long it takes.
Oh my God, yeah. That's,
right, that's
he's just stoking the fire. That's hilarious. I love that.
I know. Best also insinuated that if it hadn't been for the backlash against Jar Jar, then the prequels might have leaned into the Darth Jar Jar angle.
No, there's no way. No. I grossly disagree. But I would love if Darth Jar Jar had been a thing. I think it would have been a very interesting story to have told.
I do think that would have been I would have considered that one of the greatest twists in a movie. You know what I mean? Especially something with like a long saga like Star Wars.
It would have had to have been a reveal at the end of the second movie, and they would have had to have done a great job setting the foreshadowing. Starting in movie 1 all the way to movie 2, reveal at the end of movie 2. Hopefully, everyone goes for it, and then movie 3 just have them go full Palpatine.
Yeah, that would have been,
if you will, but
that would have been awesome.
Yeah,
but dude, could you imagine?
I'm walking here.
And now let's join Will and Tom with the traffic report.
Let's take a look at the traffic report here. We actually got some pretty good feedback on some of our episodes, so I kind of like to go back and, just kind of pick out some that people have talked about that they really enjoyed. One that I thought was really interesting was from one of our YouTube subscribers, Dorian Robinette.
Hey, Dorian.
They left a comment for episode 1, Mind Reading Kaiju, and they were talking about how they watch a YouTuber that has issues like aphantasia, I think, which causes this person not to be able to picture things in his head.
Oh,
remember how we were talking about
we did talk
mind
about
reading?
Yeah,
like what if someone had like synesthesia and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Which I thought was like really interesting. They like just to pick out little things here.
Didn't we? Was it that episode or a different episode where we were talking about I asked you how capable are you of imagining things? It was that episode.
I think it was that episode. Yeah,
because
we were talking about telepathy.
For some people, it's a 0.
Yeah, which blew my mind.
Yeah.
I really couldn't believe that. I was like, wow.
It's a thing. Thank you, Dorian, for confirming what I told Tom in episode 1.
Well, not that I didn't believe you. But.
No, I know, but it's one thing to believe, and it's another thing to have it confirmed.
But yeah, I just thought that was a really cool comment to leave.
Yeah. Thanks, Dorian. You always leave the best comments. I read them all, just so you know. I know sometimes I don't reply to them all, but I definitely read them all.
And then one thing that somebody named Nick Woisin, I'm probably mispronouncing that, Woisin. But anyways,
Thank you, Nick.
they were talking about episode 5, Reboot Fight Night. And they said, great episode, and I'm 100% on board with Will's statement, respect the source material.
I mean, that's all it comes down to, man.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
As someone who has watched many of the things I love turned into movies, that tends to be the defining factor of whether it ends up good or not. Did the makers of the movie respect the source material? The answer is yes. It's probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Except for Constantine, which was good despite them not
following.
But anyways, I digress.
And then, I thought that was funny. It was also for Reboot Fight Night. Nick Farrell said maybe one of the Skarsgårds could play Vega.
Who are the Skarsgårds? Should I know these?
One of the Skarsgårds. Yeah. Have you ever watched True Blood?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
The blonde vampire man.
Yeah.
But he's like older now. So like, is there a younger? Does this man have a son?
I don't remember if his brother's younger. I think he has a brother that's acting too.
Yeah, sure, but like 19 to 25 younger?
Yeah,
Can they pull
I don't
it
know.
off?
I mean, like
don't get me wrong.
They're pretty men.
Yes, very much so. And if what's the actor who's in True Blood, the one that we're talking about?
I think that's Alexander Skarsgård.
If Alexander Skarsgård was his 23 to 27-year-old self, now I would love to cast him as Vega. He would be a great casting.
Yeah, that would.
And if Skarsgård has a younger brother who is of that age range, then yeah, I think that'd be a great casting. Yeah. So good input. Thanks, Nick.
And you know what? We got a really good iTunes review.
Oh,
they
nice.
gave us 5 stars from Bros Rock.
Woo!
Right? I know it says hilarious and intriguing. Will and Tom are so hilarious. Thank you. The questions they ask are intriguing and are great conversation starters. The quality is great, and I will listen to every episode and can't wait for more.
Oh, thank you very much, Bros Rock.
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate the iTunes review.
Thank
and
you
anyone listening to this who likes the show, please leave an iTunes review. It really helps us out, like tremendously helps us out. So if you like the show and if you want more people to hear about the show and listen to the show, leave an iTunes review. That's probably the best thing you can do.
And thank you to everyone. Until next time.
And that is all we have for you tonight. We will continue to bring you up-to-date coverage as new imaginings develop. Please don't forget to leave an iTunes review, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Remember, you can follow us on YouTube and on Twitter at DCYimagine. And if you would like to contact us or tell us what you are imagining, you can email us at dudecouldyouimagine@gmail.com. This has been Fritz Frivolous, and from all of us here at Dude Could You Imagine, keep on imagining.
That question stressed me out because I was like, oh my god, I got to think about. I would never want to do this.
I know. When I saw you, I was like, I actually got a little nervous for you too.
I was like, no, like I already have too much to do with these podcasts. You told me I got to take over the world? No, thank you.